Today's first video for you is firstly Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau talked to PM Abiy a few hours ago. This is at least third or fourth phone call between PM Abiy and Justin Trudeau, and the agenda was Tigray conflict. Why is that Justin Trudeau keeps on calling PM Abiy, or PM Abiy contacts him? Does Justin Trudeau have any influence in Ethiopia? Is Canada a global player? Why is that he keeps on calling? I have done two videos in the past about calls between PM Abiy and Justin Trudeau. Secondly, viewers, Getachew Reda, TPLF presidential spokesperson, is mad at UN Secretary General. A few hours ago, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres spoke about delivery of aid to Tigray. But Getachew Reda is not happy with the statement of UN Secretary General. Thirdly, we have a new story about an Eritrean short film which has won several awards in the past few weeks. What is this film about? And lastly, we have some clips for you from Wolkayit, the place where allegedly some concentration camps and prisons have been uncovered by some researchers. We have some clips for you from that place. The clips are being shared by several news outlets. Some foreign journalists are also being invited to visit these places. We have seen some journalists in the past few days visiting Afar, Amhara regions, and this place in Wolkayit, it has also been visited by some journalists. Some video clips for you. Let's start with telephone call between PM Abiy and Justin Trudeau, Canadian Prime Minister. What was the agenda of this call? Agenda was obviously conflict in Ethiopia. Justin Trudeau has released a statement. PM Abiy has not spoken about that so far. Justin Trudeau says, I spoke with PM Abiy about conflict in Ethiopia and about humanitarian truce announced recently. And I called for further steps to ensure delivery of humanitarian assistance to the people who are in need, and I called for peaceful resolution to the conflict. Now, question here is, why is that Justin Trudeau keeps on calling PM Abiy? We have seen several such telephone calls between PM Abiy and Justin Trudeau. Canada is obviously not a global player to be yielding influence in Africa. Why is he interested in Ethiopia? What we have learned is that Canada is one of those countries which supply Ethiopia with some assistance. Ethiopia is the largest or second largest recipient of Canadian humanitarian assistance. But at the same time, Canada has some economic interests in Ethiopia, in Tigray too. Canadian mining companies have been working in Tigray, in other parts of Ethiopia too. Canadian companies in the past few years have discovered some mineral reserves in Tigray. I personally think that Canada wants to secure its investments in Ethiopia, in Tigray. That is why perhaps it's interested in a peaceful solution to this conflict. We saw that Canada did not openly support any party in this conflict since the start of this conflict. When US and EU were threatening to impose sanctions on Ethiopian government last year, Canada was largely silent, though it calls for a peaceful solution, but it never took any steps towards imposing sanctions on Ethiopia because it has economic interests in Ethiopia, in Tigray as well. Secondly, viewers, a second news story is about Getachew Reda, Tigray presidential spokesperson. He's not happy with Antonio Guterres, UN Secretary General. What happened? UN Secretary General, it seems that he got up from a slumber a few hours ago. Suddenly he tweeted, he says, I welcome the news that trucks with food assistance have reached Tigray. And I call on all parties to keep this momentum going. The truce was announced around 2 weeks ago. The trucks, just 20 have arrived so far. Where is this momentum? I know what is Antonio Guterres doing. Is he sleeping? Is he not being kept abreast of the ongoing situation in Ethiopia? Getachew Reda says that UN Secretary General is reading too much into the promises of Addis Ababa, firstly. And secondly, he says that his subordinates, Antonio Guterres' subordinates, they are not keeping him up to date. And thirdly, he says that the trucks arrived several days ago and so far no progress. So where is the momentum? Yes, I would back Getachew Reda here. There is no momentum so far. What we have seen is that the road is clear, road is safe. So traveling is possible, peaceful, safe traveling of aid convoys to Tigray through far is possible. That we have seen because 3 separate small convoys have entered Tigray, but no momentum so far. That is why Getachew Reda is mad at the UN Secretary General that he is not updated with on-the-ground situation in Tigray. Thirdly, viewers, an Eritrean short film has won several awards in the past few weeks. Eritrea, though seen as a country with no democracy or with having conducted no elections in the last 3 decades, is showing itself on international stage. We saw Eritrean cyclists, especially Benyam Germe, a few days ago. He won international championship in Belgium. Then Eritrean cyclists won African cycling championship in Egypt. And this film has also been showing Eritrean presence on international stage. Name of the film is Burden. It has been directed and written by Daoud Eyoub. The film is about the painful experience of giving birth at home, experience of a mother who gave birth to a child at home. In an interview, Daoud Eyoub said, giving birth at home in Eritrea is illegal. It's against Eritrean health policy. So he took up this issue that it should not happen in Eritrea. I am not personally much aware of health infrastructure in Eritrea. Does Eritrea have this much elaborate infrastructure, health infrastructure, that it can accommodate all pregnant mothers who want to give birth? Because Daoud Eyoub says that it's against Eritrean law. The film has won several awards. Before the start of Russia-Ukraine conflict, there was a competition in Ukraine where this film won an award. Then it won 2 awards in the US as well. Lastly, viewers, we have some video clips for you from Wolkayit, from Dejina, a place between Wolkayit and Tsegede, where allegedly Gonda University researchers have uncovered some concentration camps, some prisons which were made by Tigray fighters who detained, who tortured allegedly Amharas in the 1980s there, when Tigray forces, Tigray fighters were fighting Derg government of Ethiopia. Some pro-Ethiopian government international journalists have traveled to Ethiopia in the past few days, who have visited refugee camps, IDP camps, and some of them traveled to Wolkayit as well, where these mass graves, detention camps have been uncovered. And Fitzgerald and Garrison, Jamal Countess photographer, and others, they have visited several places in Ethiopia in the past few days. Watch the videos shared by some journalists from the place Dejina, between Wolkayit and Tsegede, I think, where these alleged mass graves and detention centers have been uncovered. Thank you for watching.
What is that? You know?
Shoulder, maybe?
Shoulder?
Something.
Yeah. What you're looking at here is remains of one of the prisons or concentration camps called 06 or Bado 06, which means 06. These are now filled in with plants, but you can still see the outside walls. You see another section over there, here, and starting all the way up there, where you see the exterior walls of where this particular prison started, all across. And they would put the prisoners in there. This gentleman is a survivor who spent 1 year and 7 months in this particular quarters, and then he was transported to Tigray, where he was further arrested for another 5 years. Most people that he recalls were arrested for 20 to 25 years. What you see right behind me is a rock cave prison built around 1990, some 32 years ago, by the TPLF in Dejana, deep inside Wolkait Tsegede. Here, TPLF armed rebels who were strategically located in Wolkayit during the war with the Derg in Ethiopia would bring prisoners from the indigenous Wolkayit community, torture and kill them, leaving their bodies to rot. Tucked in the most remote locations across rough terrain, trenches were dug up and covered by rocks, with armed guards ensuring that prisoners did not escape.